I wasn't 100% sure. When Jonathan asked me to speak, he can tell you my first reaction was, "You sure?" Not sure why you want me to come speak, but so then I started thinking about it a lot, and then trying to make sure my thoughts are going to be somewhat hopefully useful to the class. So please stop me if you can't hear me, or if you need to if you have any questions. And I'm just trying to find where I left my notes, and they disappeared. Okay, so I'll start without them and open them in the meantime. So I figured I'd start by telling briefly my story. After learning in Eretz Israel for a number of years, my wife and I moved to Chile in South America, and we went there to teach in a day school, and then after a year we continued teaching, but at the same time started NCSY in Chile, and then soon after in Argentina, and the program is doing very well, and opening soon in Mexico, or in the process of opening in Mexico, has continued to grow after we left. After 8 years in Chile, we moved to Los Angeles, and I ran the West Coast region of NCSY for a couple of years, and then took a job doing fundraising in Canada, which I did for 3 years, and then decided that I wanted to, basically everything that I'd been doing until then was some form of sales, even the Kiruv part. And I decided that I wanted to, move away from working in the Jewish community. I found that the fundraising was difficult, as most people do, and I wanted to do something else. So I went into aviation sales. I did that for 6 years, and it was always very slow. It took about 3 to 4 years to sell anything. And I think about even up to 4 years ago, I was in touch with Jonathan for the first time. And it took me at least a year, maybe close to 2 years, to decide to take the course. Because I kind of felt like it would be a good move to, do something else, to train in something else. My intention at the time was to move away from doing sales in some way, which I'm still in the process of doing, as Jonathan knows. And so I started the course, I guess it was 2 years ago, and finished a year ago. And I started working in my current role in the middle. So I've been working in this role for a year and a half. 2 years, as you'll learn when you start working in certain roles, is like, a critical sort of like you draw a line in the sand kind of thing. What am I doing in 2 years? Am I staying here? Am I moving on? Part of the introduction to this whole thing is I tried to come up with some things like I think that if I have anything to offer, it's probably the idea of, I was a student in the course that took it very seriously, tried very hard, spent a lot of time, but my technical background and my technical skills were not anywhere near the top of the class. It's not subjective. I'm not able to sit down and do everything I want to do quickly. I am able to break my teeth and figure out anything I need to figure out. And it could take a long time, but as you guys have probably learned many times in the course, that you can, the resources are out there. You kind of learn how to find how to do things, and I became proficient in that because of the course. And so, but part of the introduction is I hope I have something to say to the technical people also, because I think I do. Okay, so my current role, I work at a small IT cybersecurity consulting firm. So we're mostly focused on the blue team side, protecting against cyber attacks, protecting our clients and customers. It's a sales role. I sell hardware, tools, security awareness programs, like Aaron was just mentioning, that that it's the majority, at least, of cyber attacks, the successful ones, have to do with social engineering of some kind. So I sell things that teach companies how not to fall for those things. And I sell all of the services that go around all of those pieces. My role has it's three main things that I do. One of them is managing our current accounts in the northern. I should have mentioned I'm in Canada. I'm in Toronto, so the eastern part of Canada. And I'm constantly trying to figure out how to find new customers, which is probably the part of sales that's the most difficult and most scary for most people. And I the most interesting part of my job is I'm constantly involved in developing new services. So our SIM SOAR services, I help develop with a technical team, but I'm directly involved in that project on a daily basis. Our MDR services, I am developing with our technical team, and I think that that's probably where I learn the most and enjoy the most of what I'm doing, is sort of like the development of the um, processes and the services that we develop. And I, maybe because my intention is someday to move away from sales, maybe, then I'm make sure that I'm working closely with our technical team on a regular basis, even though I'm not part of that technical team directly. Okay, so the first thing is, if who should do sales in cybersecurity? I guess that's the question. And I would say that if you've ever done sales, or if you have people tell you you would be good at sales, which means you have a natural ability to speak to people, to clarify things that might be complicated. If there's any reason why you think you might be good at sales, it's probably something you should at least consider, because everybody needs salespeople. The most established companies and the newest companies, there are hundreds of companies of mine, like the one I work for in Toronto. There are, probably another, let's say probably 1,000 total in Canada, which is a lot of competition. So multiply that by whatever in the US. I'm not sure exactly what's happening in Israel in some areas. So if you want to, if there's any reason why you think that sales, you might be good at sales, I think it's a good thing to consider. And it's really important for me to say that my company, we've hired a couple of people since I started, and they came and went. One guy left after 6 days. Another guy tried for about 4 months, and they couldn't really grasp. What we were working on. They couldn't really understand what we were doing, what we were selling, what we were doing for our customers, what we were talking about. And I could, and it's specifically because of this course. It's completely because of this course. I understand everything that we deal with, everything that we talk about, everything we sell. I on a regular basis participate, and even though I'm not, on the tech side, participate in the development of things because of the understanding, and all of that understanding only comes from this course. So it's a great background for it. And there are the sales side may be one of the very few where you won't have to get a certificate after finishing this course, right? Because the very general background with all of the various specifics that you have from this course are exactly what you need to work for a company like mine. Now, if you want to work for I would say the same if you want. So again, I'm on like the blue team side, and if you want to work for a company on the red team side and do their sales, I'm sure you know enough already. If you want to work for a vendor like Palo Alto or Tenable, there's a company called Fortinet, which 80% of what I do is involved in their products. You may require some certification to work directly for them, but they're big companies. It might be a little bit harder to get those jobs also. But everybody needs sales, and it's just growing and growing and growing. And that's one an important piece also to touch on is just like, while you've been in this course, there have been some IT layoffs, major companies that are laying off people in cybersecurity. I don't see that. I only see growth. And there's an unfortunate side to it is there's it's growing because there are a lot of criminals out there, so everybody needs to be protected. But it's not, this industry is not going anywhere, and everybody needs sales people. Okay, so I figured I'd go next quickly over what I've learned that might be relevant to the non-technical, or so let's say I'm not non-technical either. I'm just a little bit less technical. So the less technical people, and also what I've learned that I hope is relevant to the technical people in the course and in general. So I already said that this course, the course that you're taking now, gave me an incredible foundation for understanding everything I need to understand. And of course, there's always learning because things change, but the foundation is perfect for my role. Okay. And I would also say that because I guess something that I noticed, because I'm very interested in at 2 years and another 6 months or so, pivoting, transitioning to some other part of the industry. So I'm constantly looking, and I have a perspective that's very useful. I think it's special, and special in that I see everything, not special in that that you can't have the same perspective. I think it's very easy to have, and from a sales perspective, I see everything in the industry. I see I'm selling pen testing. I see the reports. I see how it's done. I see how the people are doing it. I can see as much or as little as I want. And on the defense side, I see every detail. I see the development of new technologies. I see which technologies are most interesting to companies around North America, and which are less interesting, which ones are going to be growing, in which markets, which things are going to be less important in the future. I see, and I also see, opportunities. I'm constantly looking for, should I continue on this path, which was my original goal at 2 years, to switch into a sales engineering job, which is sort of like the technical part of the sales cycle. I guess that's still my intention. But there are other areas also. There are areas in management where you need to know very well a lot of things, and I do, but you're going to have other people doing some of the technical things. So that's a possibility for sure for me. And I'd say, I could probably, if I had to, come up with a list of 5 different areas that I could go into in cybersecurity, because I see what I see every day. Something that I'm sure you've seen through the course, and that Aaron and Jonathan, everybody speaks to you about, is when you have the ability to find a mentor, when anybody makes themselves available to you in the industry, I would say jump at the chance. It's it's really important to have those people. And I the truth is, I think that I'm not so good at it. I think that I've missed opportunities. But right now in my current role, I have people that I ask questions of, and I'm very open about, like, my plan is to do this for 2 years and then pivot into something else. And they're constantly talking with me and open to talking with me about, what would I pivot into? What certifications would you need? Um, how hard is this exam to do? What's the difference between an exam that is multiple choice and one that's technical hands-on? All of the different things. But it's critically important, I find, to maintain relationships and develop mentors for yourself. Now, um, on the technical side. Um, so this is the perspective of somebody who's working with technical people all the time. And the first one I would say is that um, it's really most relevant to after your first job, right? Because you don't see what I see is that the people that are new to our company, both on the like general IT side and specifically the cybersecurity side, where I'm most focused, um, they're they're very attentive. They focus. They get their work done. There are very few issues in communication. They're constantly looking for help. But once somebody gets through that first role, I see a lot of lack of communication. I see a lot of not getting things done, not managing time. So what I would mention, I saw on LinkedIn recently, someone asked, and I tried to find it, but it was like a group I'm in, a Canadian cybersecurity group that I'm in on LinkedIn, and there's like a thousand comments a day, so I couldn't find it. But they were asking, what's the most important thing for success, longevity and success for a technical person in cybersecurity? And it didn't mention this one thing, but it's for me, I would say if you can develop two abilities, they're critical, and they are to communicate, because at times you'll be too busy to do something, but if you don't tell somebody that you're too busy, they're just going to be sitting and waiting for you to do it, and that's very difficult. And time management, being able to actually get things done without somebody having to remind you, to beg you to do it, those sorts of things. It's sort of like a second, for looking for your second role. But if people, once you're in your first role, if people see those things in you, it's one of the reasons why you're going to, in my opinion, why you're going to succeed and grow and move up in that company, or get hired by another company and get paid more, because they see that it's become much more of a hot topic in the world in general of employment. Soft skills, they are soft skills, yeah, but they're critical. um, okay, now the there are a couple that I have that I would mention that are for technical people, or maybe for anybody, that are about getting a first job. um, One of the things, like the person that I work for, I've mentioned Security Plus, the certification to him before. He's never heard of it before, but besides me mentioning it, he doesn't know what it is. I find that strange, but most of the other people have heard of it. Um, but there are a lot of other certifications that might be a quicker way, or at least something to consider. I'm not gonna, I don't want to, because I'm sure that you're getting advice from a lot of people. I would just say that something to consider would be um, getting a certification from Fortinet, from Palo Alto, from Tenable, from a company called KnowBe4, which Kevin Mitnick started. Actually, I already mentioned his name. I don't know if you know that he passed away a couple weeks ago. So the those certifications, and I'll mention just Fortinet, because Fortinet is not as well known as Palo Alto. It's a competition. Palo Alto is the biggest and has the most revenue every year. It's a huge, amazing company. But they focus mostly. Palo Alto focuses mostly on on enterprise, really big companies and organizations. Palo Alto, Fortinet works with enterprise, but they also work with medium companies and small companies. So they sell much more of their product every year than Palo Alto does. And Fortinet has certification. So like what I wrote down in my notes is, if you can identify an area that you think might be interesting to work in, cybersecurity in healthcare, cybersecurity in education, cybersecurity in small and local government, and then you go through LinkedIn and you find the ones that, you know, the on their job descriptions, they're very often looking for people in Canada for sure. I can't imagine it's any different in the States. And you can go, instead of or on top of Security Plus, which is more general, you can get a specific one, and, you know, like this company uses this firewall, and I can go to them and say, I took that certification, I have that certification. It's a good step, very good step to getting a job. And the last thing I would say is also that it's hard as a firm person to be flexible about where you're going to work. But I see, for example, I work with municipalities and school boards around the province of Ontario, and they can't hire people, they can't find people. Now, most of those places I wouldn't live in, but maybe there's a possibility of commuting a little bit and a hybrid situation. I know of one here, a couple hours from me that they just took somebody that was in IT and trained them because they couldn't find people. So, you know, as much as you're able to be out of the box a little bit in what you're looking for and where you're looking, that might be a good help to finding a first job as well. So that's what I had to say. I went a little longer than I promised. I usually do. Sorry. And I don't know if there are any questions.
I appreciate it. I liked it. Anyone else have any questions? I could say from my end, you mentioned Fortinet was interesting. In Israel, you mentioned you don't know much about like the Israeli like scene. The company I used to work for also, they had like a sister company that did a lot of like IT and cyber sales. They all sold Fortinet stuff. And you mentioned Fortinet certificates. There are some SOC analysts at my old company, and they all got all the Fortinet certificates because that's what like they were dealing with. That's what they sold. That's what they like. One company would sell it, and like the sister company would like manage it and like hook up to the SIM. So they all got certificates in managing Forti stuff, Forti VPNs, firewalls, and like all that type of stuff. So it's in Israel too. So
yeah, it's well, they have an office in Herzliya.
Okay.
Which I hope to work at one day. We'll see. Yeah, so I don't know if I emphasize it enough. Fortinet is just, I think they sell more security products. They sell 50 products, but they sell more of it than anyone else in the world. It's really all over the place. Their basic certification is actually in October changing, and it's going to get easier. It's called NSE 4 currently, but it's a little bit all over the place. It's kind of like the Security Plus exam, but they're going to break it into 3, and the first one is probably what everybody would need at first, and it's going to be more focused on just managing a firewall. So very good. So if anyone ever wants to get in touch with me, Aaron and Jonathan have my email for sure. Jonathan has my WhatsApp number. You know, if there's ever any question that I can help figure out in anything that I mentioned, or just, you know, please reach out. I'm available. And thank you for the opportunity. I appreciate it.
Thank
Shimon,
you.
your stuff was really, really interesting. I didn't know your whole story about your whole Kiruv and your South American adventure. No. That was, and your insights were really, really valuable. I'm sure the students got a lot out of it, but I will share the recording with others, and I'm sure they'll also get out of it. So I can't thank you enough for sharing your experience. We look forward to hearing more about your career development as you move forward, whether you shift back into technical or whatever you do. We wish you bracha ve'atzlacha and a good year, and thank you so much for being with us.
Okay, thanks for the opportunity. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Take care. Hatzlacha, everyone.